Morning. Woo! I did it. My phone, I don't know if it's dirty or if it's just the sunlight coming in, but let me just tell you guys, that was the longest 12 minutes of my life. I want to share this experience, part of this journey, because while I share wellness, I think it's really important to talk about taking care of your wellness and not ignoring things. And if I cry, I think it's just, for me, it's just a release of all the anxiety that I've just had for like the last week waiting for this appointment. If you are somebody who deals with anxiety regularly or has any kind of claustrophobia, going in for an MRI is not the greatest thing in the world. It was not an open MRI. They did put me in one that was a bigger circumference. You do have this like, almost like a catcher's a catcher's mask on your face when you go in for the brain scan. I can breathe. I just want to talk about it because for those of you out there that have to go and let's say get an MRI and you're terrified, some of them are longer than others. I'm grateful that today was only 12 minutes. It was the longest 12 minutes of my life, let me just tell you. The machine is really loud, even though you have the headphones on with the music, so it's kind of hard to really tune in. But what I want to share that helped me so much are a couple things. Number one, my faith. I just pray it a lot beforehand. And for some people that might sound ridiculous, but if you're somebody who struggles with anxiety and claustrophobia, prayer is where you need to be. And then also just practice breathing. So it sounds crazy, but you can't move at all. And you need to make sure you're breathing and flowing, in and out, but you can't move. So a lot of it was I didn't want to move my mouth and do any like mouth breathing. So it was all through my nose, but I just did steady inhales and exhales. And the entire time I repeated in my head, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe. And anytime I started to feel my body start to panic, because I did, there was a few times where I was like, I'm going to hit the button, because there is a button you can press. I didn't hit the button. And I said to myself, I can do hard things. God didn't put me here because I can't get through this. I need answers. If I don't do it today, I'm going to have to do it. And I'm not somebody who wants to take any kind of medication. So I share this because I think a lot of times that's the answer for a lot of people. Take a Xanax, take a Valium. And yes, if I was going to be in there any longer, most likely I probably would have needed to take something to sedate me, because there's probably no way I would have made it through, to be completely honest. You can like hear the tightness in my chest. It's like releasing, but I wanted to get through it. So when I was driving here this morning, I actually said to myself, listen, you literally gave childbirth with no medication. You got through that. Labor and delivery. Like when they put the epidural in, it didn't work for you. You were having massive contractions and you were able to stay super still so they could put a needle in your back. Like I was telling myself these things, like you can do hard things. It's just the enemy coming in. It's anxiety in your mind. It's all in your mind. And it's hard because when you're in anxiety, people will always say, oh, it's just in your mind. But it's like, cool, get in my mind. It's fucking hard. So anyway, I did a lot of breath work. I did a lot of prayer. And I just trusted that if I laid there and I just relaxed and trusted this process, like this is something that people do every day. Like I'm not going to die in this machine. There's oxygen flowing. So all my irrational fears, I could just woo-saw, which helped. But anyway, my tips and tricks for this is truly, it's like, make sure you're practicing your breathing prior and just tell yourself you're safe the entire time. Anytime I started to panic and I could feel it happening, like I was soaking wet when I got out of this thing, by the way, stress sweat. I just kept saying, you're safe. I'm safe. I said it in my head because you can't move your body, but I just kept saying, I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. And I think the most annoying thing, or the hardest one for me, is I actually have a sensitivity, which I never realized, to like flashing lights. Nothing crazy, but it bothers me. And that gives me more anxiety. So laying there was one where it was kind of like doing this like flickering, and I tried to close my eyes, but then I feel dizzy. So when I have anxiety, closing my eyes does not make me feel better. A lot of people were like, oh, close your eyes. It depends on the kind of person you are. Some people don't want to see. If you're that person, you can probably bring a little sleep mask with you, but remember, if you want to take it off, you can't. So maybe just closing your eyes and breathing and relaxing. I did a couple times close my eyes, which I said made me a little bit dizzy, made me feel a little worse. So then I would just slowly open them and just focus on my breathing. I focused really just on one point in the MRI. There was two little button looking things, and I just kept my eyes on them and just kept breathing, and I just kept saying, I'm safe, God is with me, I'm safe. Because let me tell you what, when you are claustrophobic, it is terrifying. Doesn't matter. It's just terrifying. So I made it. I did it. Another thing I would recommend is drinking a lot of water prior to, like, ample hydration. I'm saying don't chug like a gallon before you go in, because then you're gonna have to pee, right? Like, you have to pee before you go in, but drink enough water leading up to your appointment so your body is hydrated. And I say that because if you have anxiety at all or any kind of claustrophobia, your nerves, your adrenal glands, instantly cotton mouth. So that was the only thing that was uncomfortable for me, was like I had a little cotton mouth when I was in there, and my throat felt super dry and like it was closing a little. So I was like, so at one point when he was like, oh, the last scan, he's like, I just have to do it again. Try to stay super still, because I was trying to clear my throat like strategically. So I just stayed super still, and I was just like, trying to clear my throat in there. But it's over. I'll have my results on Monday. And praying, and God willing, that there's nothing serious, and it's just these stubborn ass lovely hereditary headaches and migraines that come, and that there's nothing seriously medically going on, and I just have to be mindful of the things that trigger the migraines, right? So here's hoping. So for those of you out there that have to get an MRI scan, my biggest tip to you is don't read tips online that start with their horror story and their panic. You don't want that. Just know it's going to be loud. They will give you music. I think you could probably ask them to change the music. I didn't even ask him because I was so like, whatever. My tech was so nice. I told him, I said, look, I have just super anxiety today. Like, I was like, I'm super anxious. I have claustrophobia. And he was like, it's okay. You're going to do this. He's like, it's 12 minutes. And I'm like, oh, as soon as he said 12 minutes, it was like a big relief came over me, and I was like, I can do this. 12 minutes. I can do this. I think the most annoying part about all this for me, outside of just the whole process, was I had to take off all my permanent jewelry. So now I have to meet up with my girl to get it all back on, but I was like a little annoyed about that. I know that sounds so trivial, but I was like, oh, it's going to take it all off. But I noticed that, so I don't always get a headache, but I get the vision, and that I went to a neurologist. So I'll give you guys a little backstory as I'm rambling here. I went to the neurologist because I struggled with migraines when I was younger. As I've gotten older, I don't really get them as often. However, I get the vision. So I used to actually, my vision would actually go black when I used to get them. Like, I used to just see black spots and I wouldn't be able to see. And sometimes I'd have a headache, sometimes I wouldn't. And this was years ago. And then when I got pregnant with Riley, which is scary, I had the vision where your eye is like a kaleidoscope. It's called like aura or ocular. And that happened when I was pregnant with Riley. It happened my last pregnancy, and it happened 3 times in the course of a month recently. And I want to say it's lack of sleep, stress, and hormonal. Yes, I think those are the triggers for what happens when it happens to me. That's what I think anyway. But obviously they did blood work last week, and this scan will tell them more information, and I'll know more information then. But you know, this is your sign where it's like you could feel as healthy as anything, but you know, like, don't ignore things. Like, I ignored this for a long time. I didn't make an appointment with a neurologist. I didn't do the things. I was like, oh, whatever. But when it happened multiple times within a month, I was like, you know what? It's time. It's time to stop ignoring it. Like, even if it's nothing, it's better to know. So if you're feeling anything, you're not crazy, go get checked out, go get a workup, like get your annual physicals, take care of yourself. I talk about mental health, right? Like I talk about the importance of your mental health and taking care of yourself. I'm talking about going to a therapist. I talk about, you know, working out for my physical well-being. I talk about the supplementation I take to support my physical goals and well-being. Well, it's also important to go to the doctor and stop ignoring it. Just like it's important to go to the dentist. I always tell people like, hello, your gums are connected to your freaking brain. Like, take care of yourself. So this is your morning sign to just take care of yourself. If you haven't had a workup in a while, go get one. Even if you don't feel like anything's wrong, you never know. And it's better to know than to not, and then know too late. So anyway, I made it through. Thank you guys for your nice messages this morning, your love, your support. And for those of you that weren't like, you're being ridiculous, because there are people out there like that. And you know what? Anxiety is a real thing. It's a real bitch. And if you have it, you understand. And if you don't, try to be a little bit empathetic if you don't understand anxiety, because it's terrible, and I don't wish it on anyone, honestly. why can I not get this earring in? Well, anyway, now I have to go put all my jewelry back in. So, wish me luck with that. Love you guys.